On July 6, 1935, a boy was born to a farming family in the small hamlet of Toxtur, located in northeastern Tibet. At the age of 2, a search party sent from the government appeared to his hometown, following reported visions and signs in the hopes of finding the reincarnation of the 13th Dalai Lama. Upon finding the boy, the search team placed various items in front of him, some which belonged to the 13th Dalai Lama, and some that did not. The boy identified the items which belonged to the previous Dalai Lama, along with miraculous signs. This was the moment when the search party knew they had found the new and current Dalai Lama. At the age of 6, after being recognized formally as the new Dalai Lama in 1940, His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, undertook a comprehensive study curriculum. He was taught through the Tibetan system of monastic education, which consists of the 5 major subjects of logic, fine arts, Sanskrit grammar, medicine, and Buddhist philosophy. He was awarded the Jesh Larampa degree, the highest doctorate in Buddhist philosophy. The Dalai Lamas are a line of beings believed by Tibetan Buddhists to be reincarnations of the Bodhisattva of compassion, who embodies all Buddhas. Through the Dalai Lama reincarnations, Bodhisattva of compassion returns to work for the liberation and enlightenment of all sentient beings. The name Dalai Lama means ocean of wisdom, and it is the Dalai Lama that serves as the highest spiritual leader of Tibet. In 1950, China invaded Tibet, and the Dalai Lama was called upon to hold full political power at age 15. In 1959, he was forced to escape into exile after a Tibetan uprising. Since then, he has been living in northern India amongst many other Tibetans as a refugee community. The Dalai Lama retired from temporal authority on March 14, 2011, stating that he will only be involved in spiritual affairs. He transferred his temporal authority on May 29, 2011, to the then democratically elected leader, ending the 368-year-old tradition of the Dalai Lamas serving as both the spiritual and temporal head of Tibet. Today, the Dalai Lama lives with 3 principal commitments in mind. 1. To live as a human being, encouraging people to be happy, warm-hearted, and compassionate, and to live life full of spirituality and peace. 2. To live as a Buddhist monk, encouraging harmony across the various religions of the world, and advocating for the idea of a wide, open, and accepting community. 3. To live as the Dalai Lama and serve as the Tibetan people's hope and trust, committing himself to preserving Tibetan culture and language. In 1998, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, spoke as Emory University's commencement speaker.
Now, I want to share with you another point. The education is, I believe, like instrument.
During that same year, the Emory-Tibet Partnership was established, which consists of various programs, all of which cooperate within the Atlanta area. In February 2007, Emory University announced that His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, would join Emory as a presidential distinguished professor. Dr. Eisen and Dr. Doyle are involved in this connected community.
My name is Ari Eisen. I'm a professor of pedagogy here in the Department of Biology, because I'm a biologist, but also in the Institute for Liberal Arts, which is an interdisciplinary institute at Emory. I also teach in the Center for Ethics, and I've been very involved from the beginning in the Emory-Tibet Science Initiative. Hanging out with the Dalai Lama is kind of an unusual experience because he's like a, I don't know what in our world we would call a saint or some kind of wise sage or something. And one of the things he got me to realize, so when I interviewed him for the book, I kept saying science and religion, science and religion. He was like, stop saying that. He realizes that in the West, that automatically, I think when Eric or somebody said collision, people always think of them exactly like that, like colliding. So he doesn't want to use those terms for that reason. But also I think in a bigger way, he appreciates, one of the main things I learned from him and from others in the project is the way that Tibetan Buddhism views the world. So it turns out you may know better than I do, but there's all kinds of different Buddhism. You've probably heard of Zen Buddhism, you've heard of this Buddhism, that Buddhism. It all originated in India, and then different leaders went out to the world, just like with other religions with Christianity. Depending on which leader went where, different kinds of views evolved. The great leader of Buddhism that went to Tibet way back when brought something called a Nalanda, which is kind of evolved into what's called the Nalanda tradition. And it's now no longer practiced anywhere else. And I say all that because it goes like this, that if you want to understand your own self, your own belief, your own faith, whether it's Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, whatever, their view is if you want to understand yourself, you need to understand everybody else. And it's very different than the Judeo-Christian tradition that I and many people in the West are raised in, which tends to start with Judaism is it, we're the chosen people. I'm Jewish. Or Christianity is it, accept Jesus. And that's what everybody has to do if you want to get there. This is totally different. This is like 180 degrees. I'm a Tibetan Buddhist. I believe in this, but if I really want to understand my Tibetan Buddhism, I need to understand what everyone else is thinking. So you see why I bring this up, because when you talk about science, religion, we automatically think of contrast and collision. You're coming at it from the Nalanda tradition. You're saying, oh, science, religion. Well, I really need to understand that science if I'm going to understand my religion, or all these other religions if I'm going to understand my religion. See, it's totally different. So I was trying to teach them about disease and how in the West we would try and diagnose a disease and what causes a disease and try and study a disease. So I was like, for my students here at Emory, right, we often talk about the difference between correlation and causation. That's like the central principle. Just because all people with long hair, you've seen 6 patients today and they all had pneumonia and they all had long hair. It does not mean that long hair causes pneumonia or has anything to do with it. It's a correlation. So I was trying to explain this, what I thought was a basic concept to the monks. And it was one of these kind of moments where it's like, bam, you realize, whoops, this ain't gonna work. Because I was just up there, this was back at the beginning where we're just like in a cement room and it's 100 degrees and they're sitting on the floor and we don't know what we're doing. So I'm thinking, well, how do I explain this to them? And I suddenly realized, well, in Buddhism, in Tibetan Buddhism, everything causes everything else. Everything's correlated to everything else. And there's no difference. I was like, ooh. In other words, the butterfly's wings move and somebody gets sick, that kind of thing, which is coming to the West through chaos theory and all that. It's like, it just hit me that I couldn't explain this because it was a concept that's so central to Western medicine and science, but just doesn't fit at all with what they were thinking. And in order to explain that, I would have to back up like the basic cultural and philosophical assumptions about our cultures. It's changed all those people, all 200 people who come from all over the world to teach there. It's changed the way we teach. It's changed the way we look at our research, the way we think about our science. I asked one of the monks why he was doing this, and he said, well, I'm studying modern science so I can become a better Buddhist. They were interested in becoming better Buddhists. That idea, that concept really changed the way I viewed my relationship with my students, because at Emory, the students are even more diverse, right? If I've got 50 students, well, there might be 3 white guys, but other than that, they're from 20 different countries, 10 different religions. That means they're all coming into my classroom, into our classroom, like the monks, from different perspectives, with different backgrounds, politics, religion, science. So is it my goal to twist you into me? No, it's to make them better Buddhists, if you will, right? To make Wei Chi, whatever experiences she comes from, a better version of herself, having integrated science into that, my knowledge into hers, like that. See, it's a totally different way of thinking about things.
My name is Tara Doyle, and I am a retired faculty member from the Department of Religion at Emory. But I am still teaching one course a year at Candler, tends to be Buddhism. I have taught a Dalai Lama course there, and now I'm teaching Buddhism and activism. He has so much interest in interfaith. He has had such close connections with important Christian leaders. And his activity is so broad, you know, science and interfaith and politics, although he stepped away from politics now, and philosophy. So he is an interesting, and I think it worked well to introduce Buddhism to people through his life and work. I mean, I love working with people of faith who are trying to make a difference. And to me, the Dalai Lama is such an example of that. You know, he's a person of faith trying to make a difference, speaking across faith traditions, speaking to humanist, secular folks too, but it's all motivated by these deep spiritual commitments that he has, which he doesn't hide. He just doesn't push them on you. You know, I mean, it's like, take what you want. You know, you asked if I had a quote, and I do. I just love his quote, "Be kind whenever possible. It is always possible." It doesn't really matter to me what the name is you call it, or what the church is you go to, or the dogma you adhere to. There's a heart of spirituality which feels shared, and is where we can actually converse and exchange and be better people. You know, to me, it's all about, can you be a better person and help others? The Dalai Lama's role on Emory campus is precious. Just extraordinary. He takes it seriously. Among the many, many, many things that he does and has done, this has been important to him. And, you know, my students got a chance to, every year we would go and spend an hour and a half with him. And he would laugh and say, "Oh, I'm a professor, but I'm a very bad professor because I never give classes. And so good, I'm glad you're here, you know, so I can give a class." But he said, "But I never give homework. But my students love me for that," he would say.
I'm Kachin, and I'm a Tibetan, but I was born and raised in India. We took exam to get here, and you know, luckily I got the chance to here. Yeah.
My name is Tenzin Gelten. I was selected by the monastery and came to here.
My name is Demba Chimba. I was born in Tibet, and later I came to India and studied about the Buddhist philosophy.
My name is Calvin. I came from Tibet, and later I went to India to study Buddhist philosophy and psychology. The basic idea of meditation is in Buddhism is 2,600 years ago. This method to liberate all other sentient beings suffering. In the West, it is more like popular, especially in the West, when we talk of meditation, many people are just thinking about sitting here and focusing on. But this is only one type of meditation in Buddhism. The interdependence is one of the foundation of Buddhism. So Buddhists, they say that we need love, compassion. Because of interdependence reasoning. That is the main point here. When you practice altruism and compassion, many people thought you are losing something, and other people were gaining and you are losing. Whatever we do, just imagine we don't have nothing that depend on others. I speak English, where I learned that somebody teach me, also my body, I eat many things. This food, where this come from? How many people make contribution to the world? All this is coming from other sentient beings contributions. Although our mind, emotions, all this is coming from others. Even without this love and compassion for your parents and our people, we can't survive. In the summary, we can say that I have nothing that is not depend on other sentient beings. So that is why even my own happiness depends on others. Because of interdependence, we should not harm others. So we should practice love, compassion. Yeah.